it seems, if rumours are to be believed, that the penny is finally dropping for Harry, and that apparently he's been reaching out to his father, the King, and William for some sort of reconciliation. Now, reports suggest he's missing them. Of course he is. He's a normal human being. We knew he would, which is odd because his wife, Meghan, appears to show no such contrition to her own family. That can't bode well. Harry knows better than that. I get it if you're escaping violent and abusive parents that are at a reunion and maybe off the table, but that's not the case as far as we can see here. By all accounts, both sets of the Sussexes' in-laws have done their best, but they're fallible. They're normal, like the rest of us, just trying to do the best we can in a difficult world. It's not easy, and I suspect Harry is coming to realise this now he's a parent himself. The Nigeria tour was a disaster. It may have looked good in the photos, but the word coming out from many Nigerians there and here in the UK is that many don't even believe Meghan's 43% claims. They've basically, the pair of them, the Sussexes, got nothing to do. Yes, that's probably because they've got enough money, and if they stop now, they actually wouldn't need to work again. So what on earth is their relevance? I mean, what do you do when you don't need money? They're lost. Here's hoping that it's finally dawning on them that they're selling their family down the river, and this is not a good look. Plus, of course, they had their 6-year anniversary, the Sussexes, on the weekend. Amazing. They've been going for 6 years. We've been dealing with this couple and their literal anger at their own family for all this time. But in other royal news, Rishi Sunak is apparently now richer than the King, and we're getting a trickle of information on the health of the much-loved Catherine, Princess of Wales. You're watching GBN America. I'm Nana Aquare. Now, we all know that Harry visited London for the 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games, but saw neither his brother nor his father. And early on, it was Harry who was demanding an apology. Well, there was going to be no meeting until there was an apology for comments about his wife, Meghan. But now I think the tables have turned as messages coming from Harry's side that he's ready to at least forgive. Oh, that's good of him. And that he loves his family. Michael Cole joins us now. Michael, is it Charles and William who seem to be resisting reconciliation at this point? What are you getting?
Hello, Nana. I actually think we're dealing with a case of arrested development here. Prince Harry is 40 in September, and he doesn't seem to realise that words have power and actions have consequences. He and his wife have spent the last 4 years making cruel, unkind and unjustified criticisms of his family and the senior members of it. And now they seem rather surprised that nobody wants to hug and kiss and forgive. Now, that shouldn't be a surprise, but it seems to be to them. Prince Harry has said he loves this country, it will always be his home. Well, the people of this country are not too sure about that because he's gone into self-imposed exile in California. And you know something, Nana? Here are these two attractive people with more money than you can shake a stick at, with two healthy, beautiful children, living in the luxury, in the sunshine of the golden state of California. They should be hugging themselves with glee that they got such a wonderful life. And yet, when do you see a genuine smile cross the face of Prince Harry? He used to be the happy prince. He doesn't seem to be now.
It really doesn't look that way. And anyway, if you're whinging and complaining that much, you clearly aren't happy. When he came here, there were lots of rumours as to who wouldn't see who. And the King apparently is he upset about the fact that it came off that he didn't want to see Harry?
No, I think it really is practicalities. The King is facing an unspecified cancer. That is really a harrowing thing for any person to do. And at the same time, he's the head of state and he has to maintain his duties and he has to be out and seen. I'll tell you one thing which is extraordinary. I first did my first report on him in 1967 when he started at Trinity College, Cambridge, and arriving there in a Mini. I remember it very vividly. And I've been reporting on him ever since, which I think is 56 years. And I've never seen him so happy, so relaxed, so smiling. But what he doesn't want is for his equilibrium to be upset. And it is upsetting him that his younger son has said such heartless and cruel things, not just about himself, but about Queen Camilla. And that's gone home harder than anything else could do. And of course, his beloved daughter-in-law, as he calls her repeatedly, Kate, the Princess of Wales, she also undergoing treatment for an unspecified cancer. At that moment, you could understand why somebody in the family would say, really, I don't want to be bothered with this, because it is emotionally upsetting. And I think any physician will tell you when you're undergoing treatment of this kind, the best thing to be is relaxed and clear in your own mind what you're about, and let the treatment do its work. Let the physicians do their work. Get better as soon as possible. That's what he wants to do. And it's been, I think, upsetting for him to see his son. Whether who said what to whom is really rather difficult to say. But what is noticeable is that the prince or his people have made it clear, or tried to make it clear, that he asked to see the king and he didn't get a reply. Well, from the Buckingham Palace end, they say recollections vary. They have no record of a formal instruction or request coming through. I tell you what it is. I mean, it's awful to see families fall out, but my goodness, they've got form. Meghan Markle isn't on speaking terms with any member of her family apart from the Doria, and I think there's one niece who keeps in touch with her. Otherwise, they're not on speaking terms with her, and it's unrealistic for Prince Harry to think that he can do what he's done and say what he's done. You know, his book Spare was a very coruscating volume, and do you know what? It's the biggest selling autobiography ever, albeit that it was ghostwritten by a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, J.R. Muringer. He also wrote the book, the autobiography of Andre Agassi, the tennis player. And what was the theme of that? Agassi was saying, I hate tennis, I hate my father, I hate my father for making me play tennis. I mean, is there an echo there? Is there a comparison with the two books? Because throughout that book, Harry is a whinge master of Wales. You know, Harry was whinging away. Nobody likes that. You know, smile and the world laughs with you. Weep and you cry alone. And I think it's not a good look. And as a royal prince, you've got to rise above that. You've got to be something rather special. You've got to actually take the high ground and show people how to behave. And this isn't the way to behave, because families that are decent in all levels of society come together during crises, and they love each other. This, I'm afraid, is not happening in the Mountbatten Windsors and the Sussexes at the moment. And it's very difficult to see a reconciliation of any kind that's worth the name in the immediate future.
The other thing that was similar about this Andre Agassi book to Prince Harry is the full front face shot, because they both had like a sort of a face, and they're both like, ooh, and the same with Prince Harry. Yeah, I don't get why Prince Harry. I don't get why he doesn't realise that if you slag off your someone's partner, because he's defending his wife, but he's doing exactly the same to Camilla, and yet he can't understand, he can't reconcile with that, which seems odd that he can't realise the two things are very similar. He's slagging off Camilla and then doesn't understand when his wife gets sick, and he's supporting his wife as the king supports Camilla.
Absolutely, and of course you say that is a wonderful cover shot. I mean, it echoes Hans Holbein's picture of King Henry VIII, doesn't it? Sort of staring full frontal out at you. Because, you know, in this life, correct me if I'm wrong, but most men can put up with being insulted. My goodness, I've been insulted by experts over the years. We can put up with that. It's what happens in life. You can't help it. But men really hate their wives or their significant person in their lives, whoever it is, their partner, whatever you want to call it, they hate them being attacked because they're there to protect them. The other thing that men hate being criticized for is their ability to drive, but that's another matter. So those two things are a big no-no. And Prince Harry doesn't seem to realize that his brother, and they could not have been closer at one stage in their lives, his brother is terribly upset because they between them, Meghan and Harry, have said some very unkind and wounding things about Princess Kate, Princess of Wales. You have to remember, as you said, sixth anniversary, wedding anniversary was on Sunday. I mean, you were here, the world saw it. This country could not have been more welcoming to Meghan Markle, could not have been more welcoming. The crowds in Windsor Great Park were 20 deep cheering her. A rare opportunity for the newspapers of this country to be united on one thing, and that was that she was going to be a breath of fresh air and how welcome she was. And the Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, paid her the ultimate compliment. He offered to walk her down the aisle, to give her away, because her father, Thomas Markle, gravely ill, living in Mexico. She doesn't see him. She doesn't hear from him. She's at daggers drawn with him. So the king did that. And if you remember and you watched that service, the Queen went out of her way to make Meghan's mother feel welcome and special. There's no denying it. We couldn't have done more. And then for them 2 years later to suddenly up sticks and in some sort of panic flee first to Canada with the baby Archie clutched to her breast, first to Vancouver. And when the federal government in Ottawa got fed up with paying for their security, they went on to Los Angeles and then settled in Montecito, north of Los Angeles, which may have been Meghan's destination of choice all along. I mean, one has to say, into each life, some rain must fall, of course, and perhaps Prince Harry has got things he resents and he feels unhappy about. But when you're mature, when you grow up, I bring it back to Arrested Development, you have to reconcile those things with the big picture. And the big picture is getting on with people, living your life, doing your best, fulfilling your potential as best as possible, and also having a good time and not spending all your time in litigation and courtrooms and scowling. I mean, where is the happy prince? Where is the man who clowned?
I don't get it. Reportedly, their fortune is worth $500 million, and yet now Meghan apparently is doing things to soften her image. Why? I think the best thing she could do to soften her image, and Meghan, if you are watching, this is a simple piece of advice, maybe go and see your dad. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, $500 million, I think we're talking dollars, that's $500 million. That's an awful lot of money. Now, we know that they have a contract with Netflix worth $100 million. Spotify got rid of them. The boss of Spotify accused them of being grifters, which is a polite way of saying confidence tricksters, in other words, trying to get money for nothing. When Diana, Princess of Wales, was so tragically and awfully and terribly killed in Paris, and remains much missed by many people, including me and you, she obviously left a big legacy to her younger son, said to be about £7 million. He has a pension from the army, which I'm sure doesn't amount to a great deal, but it would obviously be useful. Meghan herself was for 9 seasons on a show called Suits, which was a hit show. She lived reasonably modestly in Toronto. Perhaps she was paid extremely well. Perhaps she saved a lot of money. But the thing is this, Nana, the prince has shown, he's become the prince of litigation. Now, the law is open to everyone, like the Ritz Hotel, but it's extremely expensive. And if you're paying lawyers and barristers in several cases, You can burn through an awful lot of money very, very quickly. And they have a very expensive lifestyle. The security alone, 3 shifts of burly men around the clock, 24 hours, 365 days of the year, and hooray, it's leap year, let's have another extra day. That's very, very expensive. And you have to keep the income coming in. Now, I don't think you can get very much money by selling pots of jam, even at inflated prices.
Well, not from your own garden, Michael, because she's going to have to make a lot of it. Listen, Michael Cole, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. That is Michael Cole. Well, switching gears slightly, not only have Harry and Meghan remained silent on their anniversary, but the royal family has also refrained from marking the occasion. So joining us in the studio is Angela Levin. Angela, should the royal family have sent well wishes to the Sussexes? Because, to be honest, I didn't even realise it was their 6th wedding anniversary until somebody mentioned it, and I thought, oh, yeah, there wasn't much about it.
No, I don't think it's a great big point in their life together, really. It probably makes their stomach rumble when they think about it. But we don't know if they've done something quietly. But I don't think so. I don't think they deserve to be blessed by the time that they've been together. But what they were seen out in Montecito was going off with the man who is the global CEO of Paramount, Brian Robbins, at a very expensive restaurant, which is about £1,402 for a dinner each.
Dollars even.
Dollars, yes. So that's very interesting. There's been talk that they're getting on very well with Netflix, but I don't believe that for a second. So it would look like that they're actually trying to get somebody else who's very important and has power to get them going. But they might get on very well with this man, but I think it's always very difficult for people because they run out of steam with the Sussexes. You know, they start off really enthusiastic. And I think particular Meghan gives a very good, powerful ideas of what she wants to do, but it all just sinks down for one reason or another. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's interesting that it was a sort of birthday treat to go and see the next person who's got a lot of money to make photos and filming and do all sorts of things with us.
Do you think that perhaps she's thinking about reigniting her movie career? Or she didn't really do movies, did she? It was more, what was it, like?
Serials.
Z-List series, which I never watched. Did you ever watch Suits?
I watched about 10 minutes. That was enough, I'm afraid. It was just so phony and not that sort of thing. But she's always trying everything, isn't it? It goes up, she's going to cook and make things to eat, and then that gets finished. She wanted to be a leading lady in film. That didn't come off. I mean, these things she's very keen initially to get going, but then they often drop away.
Well, that's because a lot of them aren't very interesting, are they? I mean, let's be honest, archetypes, she spent most of the time talking about herself. It took ages for her to eventually mention the guests. I think a lot of them, they weren't even in the same space doing it. Do you remember that one with Serena Williams? And Serena Williams went, "I love the way you talk to me." Because Meghan was literally saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." Literally, that's what it felt like she was saying.
I don't think she's got an idea of how she comes across. That's the thing. And I do think genuinely she believes that everybody is completely interested in her. We saw this on their trip to Africa.
But she's not wrong. I mean, look at the headlines, the papers, everything.
No, she's not wrong with that. But she thinks small children want to know about her. Older people want to know about her. And she's in a box which wants to talk about women and what they're doing in the, difficult world. And then she's telling them all about herself and being a mum and how much she loves her children. That's fine, but it's inappropriate at a certain time. I think she can't see herself. Also, she pushes Harry out the way, or she pulls him, if she wants to go and he's still talking, she pulls him and she gives him a look, and he has to come with her. I don't think she realises that we all see that. Who does that in public?
Perhaps she doesn't care. I mean, look at the Nigeria tour, which is quite funny.
I don't think she realises that.
You don't think so? I don't think she particularly cares anyway, even if she did realise, because she reads a lot of the stuff But when they lined up for the photograph...
Yes, that was absolutely
She pushed him.
terrible.
There was not room for him. You saw him trying to get into the front line.
He didn't want to be the only one at the back in the second row by himself, like the spare. I mean, that's what struck me.
Well, there was
the photo was being taken, and he tried to get in. The person on one side didn't want to know, and Meghan wouldn't let him. She kept pushing him back. Now, why do that in public? I think it's so cringe-making.
I think it's funny.
I don't. It breaks my heart that you can do that to somebody you're supposed to.
You've met him.
I spent 15 months with him, and I think that it's very sad that this is what he comes to, that he can't actually get in the front row when it's with his wife. Very sad.
It is sad. I mean, if Princess Diana was still alive, because she didn't obviously get to see the wedding and anything, what do you think she might be thinking now? What, if she could see all this?
Well, I know what she thought when she was alive. I can't really think about what she think about now, but she wanted William and Harry to work together. She knew that William was the heir, but she wanted Harry to be able to help him. And Harry said to me at one point, I have wanted to leave the royal family before Meghan, but I won't because it's very important that I'm there for William. But that hasn't happened. But I do believe that Meghan's ideas of what Diana is saying to her, which she repeats, are completely wrong.
It's very sad. Ultimately, it's quite sad. But then they seem very happy.
No.
You don't think so? Did you see on the Nigeria tour when they played God Save the Queen?
Yes.
The King, sorry.
God Save the King. They were both standing up. They didn't move. They didn't even blink. And they didn't actually mouth sign a word. They obviously had to do it because the people wanted to do that respect for the royal family in the UK. But they couldn't say no because that would have made a lot of publicity. So they're quiet. They be quiet, but they obviously hated it. I thought Harry would explode with anger and bitterness, to be honest.
Well, I don't think that they were told that was going to happen. I think that was the only way. And I think the Nigerians are very clever. Of course they are. They're not stupid. They've seen what's been going on, and they've watched the way Meghan has treated her own family and the royal family, and Harry as well. He's been complicit in all of this, and that doesn't look good. It doesn't matter what side you're on or what you think. It's not a good look.
I don't think that they wanted to trip them up and do that.
That's not tripping them up,
I think that they just put it in and thought it would be fine.
I'm sorry, but I think that they put that in there, stroke of genius, because it's a message to the King to say we're allowing them to be here, but that doesn't mean that we agree in their behaviour. That, to me, that's not so... I don't think they knew. Just the way they stood up, they looked like they looked wrong-footed.
But they didn't do that with their eyes.
No, they were careful because they
just looked straight ahead, so no one could say anything about their expressions.
They were wrong-footed. I think they were.
Yes.
Now, Obed Scobies, I like to call him Scabies, his empire appears to be crumbling.
Yes, I can tell you
that
his capital has gone down from 35,399 2 years ago, and last year it's reduced to 359.
So is that dollars? $359?
Dollars.
Is that all?
Yes.
There's 9,000 or anything like that?
No. So that's because he's moved away. He lives very near Montesquieu now, apparently. And his book absolutely didn't sell well. People were shocked, horrified, and didn't want it. And I think that he still does, obviously, look after how they should be taken by us. And I think that's... he's failed with that as well, because nobody cares what he says.
Well, also because he's gone on and said that he's named two members of the royal family that he claimed were... It's unconscious bias, the words they're using now, after realising that Harry had made a fool of himself in that interview with Tom Bradbury. I mean, that was an embarrassment, wasn't it? Yeah. Even Tom Bradbury, who would have seemed as one of their supporters, was talking to them and he went, oh, so you wouldn't say that was particularly racist then?
Yes, but he did push him and he said, but you said that, it was said. And Harry went back and said, no, we didn't, it was the press.
Did she actually use the word?
It was actually the press. That's what he blamed it all on us, and
this is rubbish.
He's not doing too well about that now. He did want to. What his aim was, his whole life aim was to get rid of the English press, so that people who would just say nice things, didn't actually say this bit about them, would be okay, and the rest wouldn't.
No, well, that's not going to work for him, Harry. He should know that. Meghan and Harry to keep calm, carry on. Is that the thoughts then? They're in deep discussions with Netflix, aren't they?
Well, no, I don't think they are. They probably asked the Paramount man. That would be more sensible. I think Netflix have probably had enough of him and not very interested in what he's got to say. Or at least they know where they're trapped, and I think they are. I don't think... My concern is very much that how he said that he wants to go round the other countries like he has been. And I think that is a terrible snub to his family. I think it's really cruel and awful. And he wants to say that he's okay, he's fine, he knows how to do these things, and the old-fashioned royal family can't. And I think he could be bring a lot of damage to the royal family, because if he does this, which he has that guy who was a fraudster who let Harry use his plane.
That's in Nigeria, isn't it?
Yeah, and he owes 20 million. It's been in the laundering slam in the US. He's being chased. Now, that actually, the effect of being with somebody like that, if it was done by the proper royals, you'd have all the companies looking into it and wondering what sort of man he is. And actually, he'd get proper advice from the ministries. But this, they went because it wasn't looked at carefully. And I think that's very dangerous. And there can be a slither that can go over and knock the royal families, that this is what is happening to the royal family.
Well, what's he even doing going there in that way? What was his purpose of the trip? It's pretty unclear. Maybe something to do with Invictus, but then they went and did this sort of other things. It
was all designed as if there was a programme going to run, and they would be with this person for 10 minutes and that one, and nothing lasted very long. I watched Meghan go down a line of people who were in a wheelchair, and she took their hand, put it back, and was on the next one. I mean, it literally wasn't even a minute. Now, that in a film might look okay, but it looked as if there was no need at all for her to want to do that, and she just carried on doing that as well. And Harry with the wounded soldiers was also, it wasn't passionate, it wasn't caring. It was just because that would be useful to do it. So it could have been much more about the Invictus Games, but that didn't come across. That wasn't the main thing. They were quite keen to do it, but Meghan wanted to talk about having 43% of
Nigerian
genes.
and how everybody, she sees herself in these people and all this stuff, because it always comes back to her. And very finally, there's a major hint that there may well be more of these overseas trips. I think Harry dropped a hint there. What was it that he said?
That's what I'm saying. I'll read it to you. It's important for us to meet directly with people, supporting our causes and listening in order to bring about solution, support and positive change. He hasn't got the power to make positive change. He might think he's got the power to, but this is done by the proper royal family, by King Charles, by Prince William. This is not up to Harry and Meghan to do and to work that round them. And I think that's what I mean about it's very dangerous. They don't want to fight, they don't want to battle, but I think they've got to do something. If it's ringing up and say, don't let him come, that would be the best idea.
Well, Angela Levin, always a pleasure to talk to you. So they want to carry on being royal without actually being royal, or the pressures and stresses of being royal. It's just, I don't know what this is about. Angela Levin, thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you. Right, well, stay tuned. Thank you for your company here as well. For more information, head to gbnews.com/America. I'm Nana Acquia.